The silhouette of love. The first time Marcus Reed saw Sophia Lynn, she was standing in the rain outside his corporate building, camera raised to capture the way water streamed down the glass facade. He'd been rushing to a meeting, umbrella clutched in hand, when he paused, struck by the sight of her, completely soaked and completely unbothered by it. "You're getting drenched," he said, extending his umbrella over her head. Sophia lowered her camera, revealing amber eyes that crinkled at the corners when she smiled. "Sometimes beauty needs to be uncomfortable," she replied, showing him the image on her display. His building transformed into a watercolor masterpiece. Marcus was 34 then, already the founder of Reed Tech Innovations, a startup that had just secured its second round of funding. He was known for his ruthless business sense and inability to take no for an answer. Yet something about this woman with raindrops trailing down her face made him cancel his meeting with potential investors. They ended up at a small coffee shop, Sophia leaving puddles beneath her chair, while Marcus talked more than he had in years. She was 29, a freelance photographer who specialized in urban landscapes, finding poetry in steel and concrete where others saw only function. "You see the world differently," he told her, fascinated by how her mind worked. "So do you," she countered, "but you see it as something to conquer. I see it as something to understand." Their courtship was swift and intense. Within months, Sophia moved into Marcus's downtown apartment, filling his minimalist space with color. Photographs pinned to walls, half-finished cups of tea, wildflowers in mismatched vases. He found himself looking forward to coming home, to the chaos she brought that somehow felt like order. They married the following spring. The ceremony was small, just close friends and Sophia's parents in a garden overlooking the city skyline. In his vows, Marcus promised to always see her, to never let the world dim the light between them. "When everything else fades," he whispered against her lips, "you'll still be what matters most." For a while, he meant it. They traveled together when his business allowed, Sophia photographing landscapes while Marcus networked with potential clients. They balanced each other perfectly, her artistic sensibility softening his edges, his ambition giving her work direction and visibility. But success, once tasted, becomes an addiction. Reed Tech expanded rapidly, securing government contracts and international partnerships. Marcus worked longer hours, missed dinners, forgot anniversaries. Their conversations shortened to logistics and schedules. "I'm building this for us," he would say when Sophia expressed concern, "for our future." She would smile, but the light in her eyes dimmed a little more each time. "We already had a future, Marcus. I'm afraid you're building one I won't recognize." 3 years into their marriage, the distance between them could no longer be measured in feet or miles, but in words unsaid and touches withheld. Sophia's photographs no longer adorned his office walls. "Too distracting," he'd claimed during an important video call. Her exhibitions went unattended because of emergency meetings. Her birthday dinner was interrupted by a call he took in another room for 45 minutes. They still occupied the same space, but lived in different worlds. Sophia retreated into her work, accepting assignments that took her away for weeks. He barely noticed, consumed by the empire he was building, moving through their home like a ghost who occasionally remembered to kiss her forehead before dawn. "This is temporary," he would promise, when guilt momentarily broke through his ambition. "Once the Wilson merger goes through, things will settle down." But Sophia had stopped believing in temporary. She watched the man she married disappear beneath pressed suits and portfolio reports. The silhouette of love remained, but its substance had vanished, leaving only the outline of what they once meant to each other.
The memory box. 67 days after Sophia left, Marcus found himself alone in his office at midnight, staring at quarterly reports that blurred before his eyes. The Wilson merger had finally gone through, the deal that was supposed to make everything worthwhile. His company's stock had jumped 11 points. Congratulatory messages filled his inbox. He felt nothing. Rain lashed against the windows, a sudden summer storm that reminded him painfully of their first meeting. His phone showed no missed calls from Sophia, no emails, no texts. Her social media accounts had been silent for weeks. With a sudden, violent gesture, Marcus swept the papers from his desk. They scattered across the polished floor like fallen leaves. He buried his face in his hands, allowing himself a moment of weakness no one else would see. When he finally looked up, his gaze fell on his briefcase, specifically on the small wooden box he'd transferred there weeks ago, unable to leave it at home, but unwilling to confront whatever message it contained. Tonight, something broke within him. Perhaps it was the rain, or the hollow victory of the merger, or simply the weight of 67 days without her voice. Whatever the reason, Marcus reached for the box with trembling fingers. It was carved from a single piece of cherry wood, smooth to the touch, with a small brass latch. Inside, he found not a letter of goodbye as he'd feared, but something far more devastating. Photographs. Dozens of them, carefully arranged in chronological order. The first showed them in his old apartment, before success had transformed their lives. Marcus sat on the floor surrounded by takeout containers, laughing at something Sophia had said. His hair was longer then, his clothes less expensive, his smile unguarded. The next captured them hiking in upstate New York, his arm around her waist as they stood at a lookout point, the valley spread before them. He remembered that day, how they had gotten lost, argued about the map, then made love in their tent during a thunderstorm. Photo after photo documented their life together, dancing at their wedding, asleep on a plane to Tokyo, his head on her shoulder, cooking disaster attempts in their first kitchen, Sophia painting his nose during their apartment renovation, quiet moments of intimacy caught when he wasn't looking. In each image, Marcus saw what he had forgotten, the man he'd been before ambition consumed him, a man who laughed easily, who looked at Sophia as if she were the most fascinating creature in the universe, who understood that wealth wasn't measured in bank accounts. The final photograph stopped his breath. It had been taken just months ago, though it felt like another lifetime. They were at a charity gala his company had sponsored. Sophia looked stunning in a blue gown, smiling for the camera. But it was his own expression that gutted him. He was looking past her, focused on someone else across the room, his face distracted and impatient. On the back, Sophia had written, "The moment I realized I had become invisible." Beneath the photographs lay a small journal. Opening it with shaking hands, Marcus recognized Sophia's flowing script. "I'm leaving these with you not to hurt you, but to remind you. There was a time when we saw each other, truly saw each other. I don't know if that's possible anymore, but I wanted you to remember it was real once. I've loved you through all your versions, Marcus, but I can't love this one anymore, not without losing myself completely." The last entry was dated just before she left. "Perhaps someday you'll look at these and remember the man who believed in more than just success. If that man ever returns, he knows where to find me." Marcus sat motionless, the evidence of his failure spread before him. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel the full weight of what he'd done, not just to Sophia, but to himself. The empire he had built suddenly seemed meaningless, a hollow achievement that had cost him the only thing that had ever truly mattered. He'd traded genuine connection for approval from people whose names he could barely remember. Outside his office window, the rain continued to fall, just as it had the day they met. Marcus gathered the photographs carefully, reverently, as if they were fragile treasures. In a way, they were, the last remaining pieces of a life he had carelessly discarded. He reached for his phone, then stopped. What could he possibly say that would matter now? Words had lost their meaning between them long ago. If he wanted Sophia back, if he even deserved another chance, it would take more than promises. It would require becoming someone worthy of her again. The question was, did he remember how?